Thanks. Thank you very much for having me, you guys. As you can see, I don't have a library voice, so you should hopefully be able to all hear me. I have been shushed at the library by the patrons. So if you've shushed me, I'm not surprised. Couple of things in the beginning. I am super, super nervous. If you know me and you've seen me at the library, I can talk forever about anything and joke, and I'm totally comfortable there. Here, not so much. In front of a group, I have made it my life's mission to avoid such things. And I actually, when Nancy asked for somebody from the library to do this talk, I said, oh, sure, this is back in December. No problem. Our library director, Carolyn, she loves to do this kind of thing, and I'll just get her to do it. And then later that week, she announced her retirement. So and then my current library director is Jeannie Amos, who was our library director for 20 plus years before, 26 years before. And she has refused. So she said, I don't have to do this public speaking anymore. So you do it. And we have a new director coming on. He starts on Monday. So I was just in the exact wrong spot. So our new director, his name is Bryce. We are very excited to have him. He will be starting on Monday. And he had worked with us as a shelver back when I was very young and had first started. And he has worked his way in libraries ever since. And we are very excited to have him coming on board. But alas, you're stuck with me. And that's fine. It's fine. If I pass out, don't take pictures and send them to anybody, because I'm nervous, all right? So the other thing is I will be popping cough drops. I am not actually sick anymore, but I think I made myself sick with the idea that, hey, I can get out of talking here. So I don't want to cough on any of you. What's the other thing? I also, when I'm super nervous, I talk really fast. So if I am talking too fast, wave at me, slow me down, interrupt me. I am very aware that I have this habit. Okay. Because I'm so nervous, they asked how I wanted this to all work out, and I asked them to cancel, and they refused, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. It's perfectly fine. But I figured the easiest thing for me would be if you guys asked me questions throughout the conversation. It would make it a conversation. So if you have questions, ask. Raise your hand. I will call on you. Yes, Mary.
Krystal, I want to know when you got, 21 years ago, how did you start out at the library and why?
I started out, okay, so I didn't think I would still be at the library this long. I had just this is actually only my second job ever in my entire life. I'm younger than I look. My birthday's on Sunday. So I had graduated from college. I went to the University of the Pacific, and I was an English major. And I graduated in May of 2001. And I had this whole plan, the whole after college, you're going to go backpacking in Europe. And I had planned to go to Europe in October of 2001. But then when September 11th happened, my mom said I couldn't go. So it was too scary. So I stopped going there and had some family things happen. And then I spent all of my money that I had saved for Europe. And so I was looking for a job. And my other job was at Blockbuster. So if you recognize me from Blockbuster days, I worked at the Placerville Blockbuster. And I was not going into anything with customer service. And so instead I came to the library, which is all about customer service. And it was my mom's very best friend who saw an ad, used the library a bunch, and saw an ad. She said, I think Krystal would be good here. And she made me apply. And I actually didn't get the job that I applied for. I applied for a position in Cameron Park, and they're like, nah, no. And then I got a call from them a little bit later in Placerville, and they said, you're tall. They didn't actually say this, but you're tall, and you can reach the tall shelves. We'll hire you. And I'm like, great. They were all very short. And I think they may have regretted it, because I'm very loud. And But we've had a lot of fun. So I was very young. I think I was 22 when I started at the library. Yep. And I was sweet and cute. And if you guys go to the library, you know Sierra, the over-exuberant one. I was like her. So, and now here I am. So a little bit less like her. And why? So I started kind of on a surprise, and I didn't plan to stay. But it's like the best job ever. I can't imagine wanting to work anywhere else. I have zero desire to work anywhere else. I love it every day. I might not always like it, but I have always loved it. No 2 days are the same. No 2 interactions are the same. You change every interaction, every day, all day long, from one person to the next person to the next person to the next person, never the same thing twice. So variety is very exciting. I'm not selling anything. I get to give everything away for free, or maybe $1. And if you have fines, I do too. So I'm right there underneath my $20 limit, so I will be making a payment soon. You get to help your community and be a part of your community and interact with people. And you guys are all great. Our patrons, 99.9% of the time, everything is awesome and great, and you want to be there, and people are so excited. And so there's just not really another place that you can possibly want to go. I just can't even picture it. And you get to be a part of people's lives, and you don't even know you're a part of people's lives. I've had it where they come in and they're like, oh, we were talking about you at dinner last night. And you're like, I'm the person who works at the library, and you're talking about me at dinner last night? So you get to see them grow up. It's kind of alarming when they were little and now they're getting married and having kids, and you're like, no, thank you, no. But you get to be a part of those lives, and it's great. And you get to just give things to people and help people. Who doesn't want to help people all the time? So that's why. Does anybody else have any questions for me? Yes?
What are the biggest challenges the library is facing right now?
Right now, that's a good question. There's a lot of challenges. One of the constant challenges we face, and we've been doing a little bit better job, is we still come across who uses the library anymore, right? Nobody uses the library anymore. Nobody, you can get all your books online. Nobody uses the library. So that's constantly a battle that we're trying to upsell what we do, and what we do is free. And so that's always a challenge, is to make people aware of what we're doing and encourage them to use our services. Some of the other challenges, it feels as though, and I'm not going to blame COVID on it. Lately, it's even started before COVID. Behaviors have changed over the last several years. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of people facing mental health challenges, and they use the library, and we welcome them. There's a lot of people who are facing trauma, life trauma, and there's a lot of people who can't afford to even use the library. We do charge fees. We would love to get rid of that, but if they have too much money owing on their card, there's meltdowns that happen, and just the kids' behavior can sometimes be different, and adult behavior is different, and there's more things that are acceptable now that weren't acceptable before, and you make a welcoming environment for everyone, and it's a hard line to balance on. Each of our branches has its own challenges. Our branch has, we've seen a really large increase in people who are experiencing homelessness at our sites. And that's been going on for a lot longer than just recently. It really has. You'd probably be surprised the number of people who live in their cars in our parking lot over the years. But that over the last 6 months, we've seen a really big, quick change. And we're trying to make a welcoming space for everyone. And we're one of the few places that you can go that's free and welcoming and a safe space, but not everybody's behavior is in line with that. So we have to try to manage that. I have to try to manage that. And there's people who are upset that we're allowing homeless people onto our premises. And there's people who are upset that if we have to kick somebody out. And there's people who are upset by the fact that they see syringes outside. I get it. I get all of that. It's a hard thing to do. I pick up a lot of syringes. And actually risk management gets mad at me for doing that and tells me not to do that. And I say, but it's a Saturday and you guys don't work on Saturdays, so who's gonna come and pick those up? And I got families who want to be out there. Is it a safe space for families? So we try to balance a lot of fine line. So those are some of our challenges that we're facing. I know that you guys are very interested in banned and challenged books. That is actually not something we have had to face a lot of. And we were talking about it. We have been very fortunate. And we are aware this is a hugely growing movement. And this is a lot. This is in the news a lot right now. And we're very aware of that. And we have plans in place. And we have faced challenges over the years. But we haven't seen it escalate as much as it's escalating in other areas. So those are challenges that we are kind of anticipating, but haven't quite developed yet. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, well, we're gonna go with Emma Jean. Sorry, I know some of you, and that's not a good thing, you guys. If you'd like to have Emma Jean stories, come see me later. Sorry, go ahead, Emma Jean.
I was just wondering if you could explain some of the, we know that you lend out books, but some of the other services that the library provides.
Absolutely.
Other reasons people come to the library.
Sure, absolutely. So she is interested in, oh, thank you for that. I'm supposed to be repeating your questions out loud so everybody can hear. I forgot. She's interested in me talking about other services and items that we provide and things that we do besides the traditional books. We are so much more than books. One of the awesome things that libraries do throughout time is we evolve and we adapt and we change. And we are constantly trying to fill the needs of our community. And that what those needs are changes. So we change a lot. So I brought some examples of just some of the things. So you guys know we have books, we have DVDs. They cost $1. We would love to get rid of that. It is not our, we have to get the board of supervisors to say that we don't have to charge that anymore. We're working on that. But we have DVDs, and you can get like Yellowstone season 1, 3 weeks for $1. It's the best deal in town. We have audiobooks. We have a lot of physical items, right? But we also have some physical items that you don't know about. So we loan out kits. We have so many kits. I had to write them all down to make sure I don't forget. So by kits, we have things. So we have storytime kits. They were the first. And a storytime kit is like snow is the theme. And they're geared toward kids like 3, 4, 5 years old. And so each box, each theme comes with several books and like a felt story or a puppet. And so you can have your own story time at home, at the daycare, anywhere you'd like. We have toddler kits that are activities and manipulatives and games for toddlers. We have Next Step Reader backpacks, which come in a little backpack that kids love to wear. And Next Step Readers are to help with reading comprehension. So as they're learning to read, they learn what the words are, but they don't know what the words mean. And so we include like little story wands, so they're very fun, that ask them, hey, what was your favorite part? Or who is the main character? So it helps them to understand how to read. We have social emotional backpacks. So a lot of kids that are having a hard time focusing. Oh, there we go, there we go. Social emotional backpacks. These are heavy, surprisingly heavy. I should have picked a better one. They'll come with books for the kids that help them to focus. This one I believe is on focusing, but some of them are about sometimes I feel angry, sometimes I'm anxious, how to share. So sharing is not a natural concept. I hate to share, so I didn't learn it very well. I wish there was a social emotional backpack for me. And so they'll have items in there. Maybe I should take one home probably. They'll have items in there that help with that theme or that emotion or that activity that we're trying to build on. And there'll be games and questions and things for parents to do with the kids to help them along. We have STEM kits. So STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. And that's a big thing for school, for kids of all ages, really. So we'll have kits that we've created that deal with science, and that might have science experiments for all ages, and engineering and math stuff. So we have those kinds of kits. We have, what else do we have? We have, not kids, not just for kids. We actually have, I brought some stuff for grown-ups too. So we have memory care kits. These are designed to help with people who have Alzheimer's. We have ones in early stages, beginning stages, middle stages, late stages. We have ones for caregivers who are caregiving for people with Alzheimer's. We'll have some that are different decades. So, oh, give me just a second here. Give me just a second, Vicki. Different decades, so they'll have different themes in them. Yes?
I've never heard of it.
Okay.
How do people in the community know that you have this?
That's one of my challenges that we face. So that's why I'm here talking to you. I need you guys to go tell everybody we have those. So I don't know how to get that word out. Oh, she wanted to know how do we make the, oh, thank you. How do we tell people about them? How do we get the word out to the community that we offer them? I don't know. Yes, so I'm doing it right now.
Put a flyer in the water bill.
A flyer, oh, that's a good idea.
In the water
I'm gonna try to remember.
Yeah.
Putting a flyer in the water bill, yeah. I wonder how we do that, but I will put it on my, make sure you remind me at the end of this, because I have a very bad memory. So I have the memory of a goldfish cracker that's been chewed up and spit out and stepped on. So there's a very good chance I won't remember that at the end. So tell me, okay? So getting the word out's hard. We have kits, we have book clubs in a bag. Oh, this is also very heavy. You guys have a book club, and you meet at the library. And I know that there's been scheduling change. Sorry. But book club's in a bag if you want to start your own book club. It's got 6 copies of a book. It has discussion questions. It has like a little sign-out sheet so you can run your book club. We have lots of those. We have mental health kits for people who are facing substance abuse, depression, OCD, schizophrenia. Let's see. We have beyond school resource kits, which are designed for like homeschool kids or even kids who are going to public school. You can check out a telescope, or not a telescope. Well, we might have a telescope. You can check out a microscope. You can check out, yeah, slower. Okay, thank you. There's so much. So you can check out a microscope. You can check out things that help you to learn time, math.
How about computer skills?
We have one-on-one tech classes. So if you need to know how to use your phone, if you go to the phone store, they'll tell you to go to the library. And you can make an appointment with our staff. And they will, I need to learn how to do X, and they will teach you how to do X. It probably won't be me, I'm not very techie, but I can teach you some things. So we're talking about offering basic computer classes, or it's very specific. So, because the problem with offering computer classes is you have one person who doesn't know how to turn it on, and you have another person who doesn't know how to attach something to their email. Very different. So we're talking about how to use the mouse and keyboard, how to use email. So it'll be very different classes. So we're working on those. But we do offer one-on-one. So you can bring in, somebody brought in their Mac and needed to know how to set firewalls and how to clear disk space on there. And they sat down with the staff, and the staff helped them, kind of a thing. So we teach you how to do it yourself. We have online services as well, so computer skills. We have, if you are computer savvy, you have the ability to go on our website, and we have online resources such as Job Now, Vet Now. There's these online skill learning, so if you want to learn a foreign language, or you want to know how to knit, or you want to know how to do photography. We have Coursera classes, which are like online college courses. We have homework help online. We have online ebooks and audiobooks and e-magazines, so you can do those online as well. We have a super cool thing that probably nobody knows about called Career Online High School. So, if you didn't finish high school, but maybe you got to the sophomore year, you can actually finish high school with the library. You can do it online. You can transfer your credits in, so if you got through sophomore year, you can bring in all those credits. If you can do it in, I think, 18 months, you get your actual high school diploma. Not the GED, it's an actual high school diploma. And you can pick a work certificate for like 8 different fields, kind of a thing. So, like, food services or hospitality, that kind of a thing. Let me see yes, Maria.
Can you access through your site, like the New York Times and the Washington Post, without having a subscription and read their articles?
Yes, sometimes. So my answer to, she wanted to know if you could she wanted to know if you could access the New York Times or the Washington Post online without having to pay for a subscription. And the answer is yes, sometimes. We get grants to purchase those subscriptions, or we get those purchased for us by the state library. Sometimes those go away and we don't know about it until somebody says, hey, it's making me, subscribe. So you have to tell us about those things. But yes, you can. They would be on our website. We also have an app, so you can put an app onto your phone. We are the county's app developer. That sounds much cooler than it actually is. We didn't actually develop anything. But it also would have access to all of those. Yes. Oh, do you have a question? Okay.
Who decides what newspaper will be bought by the library?
I wonder why you're asking me that question, so, Mr. Garone. So, he wants to know who decides decides which newspapers and magazines to carry. We have a team. Our selectors, our book selectors, or our collection development team will decide. Each branch might decide which newspapers and magazines are going to be the best available resource for that community at the most cost effective. On occasion, we have very generous supporters who will donate a subscription to us, and we welcome that. Thank you for your donation. But sometimes it's a matter of cost and what we can get and what we can't get. Not everything is available to us. Okay?
You know where I'm coming from.
I do know where you're coming from. Yes.
I will tell you what I think we could convince the Board of Supervisors to consider valuable.
Okay.
But I really think, for me, I have dealt with COVID much better than a lot of the people I'm with. And I have often consciously thought to myself that I don't know any place where I go where people want to be nice to me. You know, I mean, because I just spent hours trying to get through in colleges, schools, everything's online now. You can't get to a human being, and a lot of them are irritated to taking their time. So I'm just saying, I go to the library, I really believe the librarians want to help me.
We do.
And so I believe that is a peace of mind that we can convince is valuable for funding with the Board of Supervisors.
And that was going to be part of my speech, is how you can support the library, and talking to your Board of Supervisors is one of them about about your stories and your experience, and they do listen to you. We hear about it, good and bad. So we mainly hear good, but we do hear about it. So if you have a story to share and you want to support your library, tell the Board of Supervisors, tell your friends, tell your family, talk us up, kind of a thing. Did somebody else have a question? Yes, and then I'll get to you. Yes.
Is there currently some sort of, and I don't like the word list, but a lot of the things that you're sharing with us that is available, is there something so that,
Like a physical list?
and then
Right.
you're kidding me, really? Because
Right.
I already know that each one of you, if I ask anything, but I don't know to ask,
Sure.
especially for the caregivers and that stuff.
Right. And as you're seeing, and as I'm seeing, this, oh, sorry, repeat the question, right? Yep, there we go. She wanted to know if there was a list, somewhere she can go to see everything that we're offering, all these things that I'm talking about, if there's somewhere where you can go to see all those, because unless you know to ask, you don't know what to ask for. And the hard thing about a list is as soon as we print something, it's now obsolete because we'll have added something else. So a printed list can be difficult for us. We have them online. We have like all, if you were to look at our website, you could see all of these kits that I'm mentioning. Or if you were browsing, it talks about kits and story times and this and that and online resources. But you have to spend the time to browse. I can certainly look into seeing if we can do some, because some of these are, have been going for years, some of these kits. And so we can always put together something that's maybe more standardized of, hey, we have kits such as. So that's a good suggestion. Mm-hmm.
And, there's lots of extra things that you don't think about. And as I get older and the whole world is so full of all this tech stuff, I don't know how much everybody, goes online.
Exactly.
And checks, because it also changes.
Exactly.
Get into it, yeah.
And telling people is the hardest thing. Word of mouth is what we kind of go with, and that's not ideal. We have talked about our Friends of the Library organization, which I will talk about, is our charitable organization whose sole goal is to support us and raise money to support us. And they've been talking about how do you do a newsletter? And they don't necessarily know how to do a newsletter. So if they have somebody if anybody's interested in helping and knows how to put together a newsletter, write an article, come see me. But do we put out press releases to the Mountain Democrat?
We're always looking for features.
Right.
And that was one of the first things I thought about.
Right. So I will make a concerted effort. We will make a concerted effort to do better to tell you about these things. Hold on just a second. There's a gentleman in the back that had a question for me, and then I'll get to you.
So how would you characterize your support from the county and other agencies, if you dare talk about that?
I absolutely would. He wants to know how I would characterize the support from the county and other agencies for the library. And actually, we're doing great in the eyes of the county. Our previous director, Carolyn Brooks, was a fantastic advocate for the library. As you can see, we have a hard time telling people about all the great things that we do, and we're not great at singing our own praises, but Carolyn was fantastic at it, and she was great at working with this organization and that department and that department and that department. And right now, the county thinks that we are golden, shining stars. We look great to them because we are doing really great things. So one of the big great things that we're doing, and we're working with a lot of organizations, and it's a lot of telling them all of the things that we do over and over and over again, and doing really great things. And so one of the really big parts of the library that I haven't talked about yet is the fact that our library is also a community hub. Okay? Have you heard of that? Okay. So that's one of the bright shining things that the county loves about us. So what that means is the libraries have partners. We have partners such as the Office of Education, and we have people who work in my library. Jesus, he works in the Placerville Library. If you've met Jesus, he's awesome. And he works for the Office of Education. And he knows everything about child development. And he hosts play groups. So child development, play groups, he will talk to you about, we have ages and stages kits, which an ages and stages is a fancy way to say, it's kind of a check-in to see how your child is doing as they develop. So we have like little kits that you can take home to see, do they know how to squeeze a ball? Can they make a face at themselves in the mirror? Kind of a thing. And he does assessments for kids who take those ages and stages questionnaires, and he will help lead them on a path to correct anything that they might be lagging behind in, or if they're seeing a speech problem, he helps them with speech. It also means that we have partners such as, I had to write them all down. Sorry, let me get my thing. Community hubs is often. The idea behind the community hubs is that our big funder for that is First Five. which is the first 5 years, 0 to 5, and they get money. It's like the tobacco tax, and they get money for the tobacco. Oh, thank you. Okay. First 5 is the tobacco tax people. So they get money to fund things for 0 to 5-year-olds. And one of the big things that they helped us to do was to start this community hub. And so we can target people who have families, or people who work with kids, or people who might be taking care of their grandkids, neighbors who are taking care of their grandkids. We actually have been doing this for like 7 years now. And it's really taken off lately. We actually we work with people now, so they fund for not just the first 5 years, but now birth to death. So we will help anybody, all ages. We have partners with public health. We partner with the Marshall Community, not Marshall Community Health Library, the Marshall Hospital. We have a nurse who is at our library once a week. We have somebody from Housing El Dorado who's at our library once a week to help people who are experiencing homelessness or maybe in danger of losing their housing status, get ready for becoming homeless and trying to move forward with that. We have, let me see who are some of my partners here. We partner with the food bank, both the El Dorado Food Bank and the Placer Food Bank. We do food distributions and resource distributions. So if you've been to our library lately, you may have seen we have at the front desk a refrigerator with fruits and vegetables and water and milk and juice. And we have dried goods, and we get toothpaste and deodorant and all this stuff. And it's at all of our libraries. Every library has that. And we got that with the support of our Board of Supervisors and El Dorado Food Bank. And they stock it for us every week. We get diapers from Placer Food Bank. Diapers are a big thing. Diapers are so expensive. And so if we can offset the expenses for somebody by getting them free diapers, they can use their money to buy gas to get to their job or pay their rent, kind of a thing. We work with, let's see here, El Dorado Community Health Center, Senior Services, NAMI is one of our partners. So we are partnering with more and more agencies and organizations. We do the Caldor long-term recovery. So we're working with Salvation Army. We have disaster case managers to work with Caldor survivors. They're located at my Cameron Park branch, not at the Placerville branch. So we're working with everybody, and they're working with us. And when we talk about what we do, they are very excited by what we do. We have every Board of Supervisors district has a hub. So there are 5 hubs. We are Hub 3. Placerville's your Hub 3 location. And Wendy Thomas is your supervisor for that location. So did I answer your question?
Yes.
All right, perfect. You had a question.
I'm going to add one more thing.
Okay.
Because I was at the library today and it said what a happy place it is.
Uh-huh.
And also, 12 to 2 on Tuesdays, there's nurses day.
Yes. Shannon is our nurse. They're on Tuesdays from 12 to 2, every Tuesday. And we're starting, it's coming soon, that we will be having, I don't know which organization it is. I should have that prepared. And Kelly's going to be mad at me when I go back to work. There are going to be vans. They're going to have a schedule. I don't know if it's once a week, once a month. They'll be coming and they'll be offering different services, like there's a dental van. And we're going to have nursing services for wound care and medication checks and blood pressure checks. They'll be coming as well.
So my question is, years ago, you would interview older people and get the history and you tape record them with their voices. Do you still have that program?
So the question here was, we used to years ago do oral history tapes. So we would record the people's stories from our community. And she asked if we're still doing that. We don't have a project at this point in time that is carrying that on. The museum might, which, if you're not aware, the museum is also part of the library system. And they might have a program, but I don't think they currently do. That is a big funding opportunity for us, grant-wise. We get a lot of grants. So to be able to do these things, we have to go out for grants and get grant money. So there is some definite funding for oral traditions and recording those traditions at this point in time, but we don't have anything in the works at this point. But that reminds me, I have here, a place for suggestions. When if you have a chance, come up, write your suggestions. So talk about the oral history tapes, put it in there. I will take this back. We are constantly looking for how to serve our community's needs. So we got the little ones down. And we don't have a huge teen presence at the Placerville Library anymore. We did, but COVID really kind of knocked that out. But we are looking for the golden age, as you guys referred to it. We would love to know what you would like to see from us. So give me your suggestions. I'm going to take that back, and we will use them to our heart's content and try to gear things toward you. All right?
Pass that around.
Yeah, sure. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
Well, I was wondering, are these items checked out, like a library book?
Yes, they are, but some of them check out for longer. Oh, so she wanted to know if these items check out like a library book. They do, but some of them have longer checkout times. So our book club in a bag checks out for 6 weeks, kind of a thing. I haven't talked about yet our hotspots. So we check out hotspots. So this is internet. We check out the internet. Here's the internet right there in a box. It actually works at my house, and that's saying something because I live up in Mosquito. I get no cell service, and it works. This is actually probably checked out to me, so I think I brought it from home. So this checks out for 6 weeks as well. And so if you live in a bad location where you don't get internet service, you can check this out. It comes preloaded with, I don't know how many gigs of data, but it has internet. It restarts every month. If you do a lot of like streaming and stuff like that, I don't know what that is, but if you do a lot of that, it might eat up all your data, and you might have to wait till the 15th of the month for it to reset. But I have people I had a lady came in during one of the recent storms, and she had been coming in for a couple of days and was worried that our power was going to go out, which we have a generator now, so that won't happen. No more PSPS events for the Placerville Library. Because she's a student, she's doing online nursing school. And her power, she lived in Pollock, and her power was out. And so in order for her to do her studies, she was staying with her mom, and her husband missed her. And she was doing online stuff at the library. And I said, we have hotspots. You can check out a hotspot. And she cried. And she checked it out. She went home to her husband and did her online schooling from home. We had another one that she was a PhD candidate. So she was working on her thesis. And she would bring in her desktop computer. Like the tower and the monitor. She brought it in every day. And then we got this, because she had no internet. And we got these, and we were like, hey, we haven't seen her since. So I hope she's doing okay, because we have not seen her since. What's that?
How long?
Checks out for 6 weeks. It's not renewable. They're very popular. So you kind of have to catch it at the library. Every branch has one, including we have more than one, including the Pollock Pines Library, which is small. And they have several. And sometimes people don't think about the fact that you can take your library card and go up to Pollock Pines and check out theirs. And they might have it there, even though we don't have ours, kind of thing. All right? Yes?
I thought of another thing, that you can get passes for hiking trails, right, for trailheads?
Yes. Well, we have, that was. Thank you, Emma Jean. I'm going to give you your $1 for helping me during our talk. Okay. Emma Jean also told me I had to tell you a joke. Would you like to hear an Emma Jean joke? Okay, so Emma Jean's joke that she told me is that, what did the shy pebble want most of all? To be a little bolder. That's an Emma Jean joke, all right? So we also have state parks passes. So this is good for parking. It's a day use parking permit. So not overnight. If you park overnight, you might get ticketed. It's good at like 200 plus of the California state parks. Not all of them. Some of them are like co-owned or also funded by private institutions, so there's not everybody. Like Sly Park is not on here, but I believe Coloma is. Big Trees National Park, or State Park, yeah, it's a state park. Yeah, state parks passes, yes. So you can check it out. They check out currently for a week. We just got a whole bunch more in. So we're gonna make them check out for longer because we had like 4. So we were like, oh, we don't want you to have it all summer. So if you guys are planning a trip, you can park. We have a lot of people who are, I'm gonna go here, and then we're gonna go here, and we're gonna go here. You don't have to pay, kind of a thing, all right? We have some that you can place on hold, or you have some that you'd have to catch them when they're there, kind of a thing, all right? So we have those. And one of the kits that we have, we get all these grants. I mentioned the grants. Gavin, he works up at our Tahoe library, and he loved this state parks pass. He's such a naturalist. So he got a grant, and he created some of the kits. One of the kits we now have is a nature backpack. It's geared toward adults, and it has like binoculars in it, and like a journal, and like a birding guide, and guides to the trees and stuff like that. So you can check those out and take them with you on your journey. There's some other things in there that I don't know what they are, but I didn't want to tell him. I just said, good job, Gavin. And he will be presenting at the California Library Association conference in June on that, so well done him. Better him than me. I'm not presenting at all. So, let's see, what are some of the other cool things? We have board games. You guys, you have your friends, you're coming over, you want board games. We don't have them on site in Placerville, but El Dorado Hills and Georgetown carry board games galore, so you can check those out. Yes?
So regarding the nature backpack,
Mm-hmm.
so he developed that up in South Lake Tahoe, right?
Yep.
I live in Cameron Park, can I get an whatever it's called, library transfer, and they would send it down?
Yes, you do, but they also probably have them. So he created them, but he distributes them to all of our branches. So these are available at all of our branches. Okay. Some kits are a little more tailored. The nature backpacks, we have them in Placerville, we have them at Cameron Park, we have them at every location. Some of them, like the board games or the Beyond School resources, you got to go to those branches, but you can place holds and have them sent over.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How did this evolve? You know, when computers were the new big thing that happened
Right.
in the library, I would never have seen things go in this trajectory. So
How did this evolve? Right, okay, so I forgot to say that the question in the back was about how do you get your hands on the nature backpacks, and they are available at all of our locations. And then our next question was, how did the libraries evolve into what we are today? Because computers were the next big thing, and I have to say that we were like innovators at El Dorado County to bring on computers back in the 90s. So libraries constantly are changing and evolving and trend setting. Libraries are trendsetters. That seems weird. People probably aren't going to think about it that way. But we see a need in the community, and we find a way that we can fill it. And if it might be a need, and the idea behind the library is not everybody has access. Not everybody can afford a computer in the 90s. I couldn't afford a computer until after I got out of college. So you went to your library to use their computers. Ebooks. People are, oh, ebooks are going to be the death of the library. Nope. We offer free ebooks. Yes?
Just something that the library helped me with. I have a newer car that has no CD or tape,
Mm-hmm.
and I listen to books when I travel. And I couldn't do it in my car. But I found out that I can do it through my phone
Right.
in my car, from the library.
So she's commenting on the fact that she did not know she has a car that doesn't have a CD player or tape player. I love my CD player, so I'm very sad that my next car probably won't have one. I'm making a mixed CD at home. My friends laugh at me. It's fine. But you can, and we taught her that you can listen to books through your phone. So she can listen to audiobooks while she travels. And that's one of the ways that we're also evolving, is we see that need, that community needs, the world is changing, internet, not everybody has internet. We want to provide that access to them. How can we do that? Who can we work with? How do we get funding for that? How can we meet that need of that community? We evolve every day, and we're pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. I just can't even explain how awesome the people at the libraries are, because they're always looking for what they can do next, what they can do more, what is a need that needs to be filled. They're constantly looking for that. So our online resources do include downloadable audiobooks, downloadable ebooks, and e-magazines. So if you need magazines, and not all of these things are available in physical print anymore. So magazines a lot of them aren't being physically printed, which is terrible. I love magazines. I really don't want to have to buy them. So you can download them for free with your library card. I have instructions on how to do this, step-by-step instructions. If you can't make it work, you can make an appointment, and we will sit down with you and make it work. You bring in your device, and we'll say, okay, let's do this. I can even mostly do that. So, yes?
So I'm a voracious reader. I read everything ebook now because I don't have glasses
Right,
to do it.
right.
But do you have a program that you can either read it yourself or switch over to audio? Like
Oh.
Amazon does that, and it's really nice because sometimes the voices are too slow for me. I want to read it really fast.
Right.
So, but I can do that. I can push a button on the bottom. It'll read it to me if I'm gardening, or I can just read it myself.
Wow. We don't, as far as I'm aware, that's not one of the things that we have been offering. She wanted to know if we had it available. Thank you, Bill. He just goes like this now. She wanted to know if we had the kind of ebooks and audiobooks that if you were, let's say you were listening to it in your car, and then you walk into your house and you don't want to keep listening to it, you want to read it, that you can push a button. There's some out there that apparently you can push a button and it will switch from audio to ebook, kind of thing. We don't have that yet. So, yet.
You could if you check out both the ebook.
Yes. But ebooks are interesting, or the downloadable books, ebooks and audiobooks are interesting because not everything is available to us in both ways. So sometimes we only have it available in an audio, or we only have it available in an ebook. And so we can't get our hands on both of them. Publishers don't really like libraries, I have to say that. So we loan instead of buy. Yes?
I was just wondering if you've had any kind of backlash on any of the books maybe that you have chosen to stock in the library. For instance, you can hear it on the TV all the time, something like Pride or Jazz or whatever. I just wonder what your experience has been in this community.
So she's asking about if we've had any backlash on items that we've chosen to carry in our library, because you're hearing it all the time in the news about this growing movement for censorship. We have been very fortunate lately. We have been very fortunate in that we have not been experiencing what you're hearing in the news yet. We do, on occasion, we get challenges. We have a process for if somebody asks us, disagrees with the materials that we're carrying. We do have, and that does happen to us. Our process, first off, we're not hiding anything from anybody. Our collection development policy is on our website under About Us. You can see all of our policies. So that tells you how we determine what we're going to carry. And then if somebody does object to it, we have a request for reconsideration form that they can fill out. It would go to either the branch supervisor or possibly the library director for review. They would read the materials, they would discuss, they would reach out to the person and have a conversation with them and decide whether or not something is appropriate should be removed. Oftentimes, what we've faced is, and we've actually moved some things. We've never removed, but we've moved some things that may not have been appropriate for the kids area. Yeah, that probably should be a teen book. Or something that's in the teen section. Yeah, that probably should be in the adult section, kind of a thing. So we have done those things. I once had a lady bring up it was a picture book, and it was in our tales section, so it was like a folk tale. And she's like, my kids were a little creeped out by this book. And I opened it, it was like this Russian folk tale about a guy who's walking home in a snowstorm, and he comes upon a dead guy, and the guy who's walking home doesn't have any shoes, so he takes the dead guy's shoes, and he gets home, and the dead guy's feet were in the shoes, so he feeds them to the pigs, and then the dead guy comes back for his feet. And I was like, this was in our picture books? And I was like, we might want to move that to our nonfiction section, like the folk tales there, maybe a little bit less obvious kind of a thing. So we have those kinds of challenges. We have experienced some challenges a few years ago, more than 3 years ago, where it was a little more of a concerted effort. The thing about what's going on now, why today is so different than it was a few years ago, is you're seeing a much more concerted effort. So previously, it was one person challenging one book, kind of a thing. Now you have organizations, they're much more organized, and they're sending out a list of books. And they're challenging, so you have one person who's challenging not one book, but 100 books, saying, I want all 100 of these pulled. And they're sharing those lists. So then you have a lot of groups who are coming in and doing the exact same thing. So that's why next week is National Library Week. We should have done the talk next week. And they also are coming out, the American Library Association, which is ALA, they do a lot of the tracking of banned or challenged books. And there's a difference between banned and challenged. But they will be releasing next week their top 10 frequently banned or challenged books for 2022. So we don't know what it is yet. We can guess, but we don't know. But let me get some of my data here, because this was a very hot topic, and this is a very interesting topic in this day and age. And I did bring some books that we carry. I was gonna play a game where it was like, is it challenged, or frequently challenged or banned or not? And instead I just brought things that are definitely, they're all frequently challenged or banned. And so to kind of show you the differences. Right now, there is a trend in LGBTQ related topics. So, and also race, people of color. So those are the trends right now that we're seeing. What they were saying was that the numbers doubled, almost doubled, from 2021 to 2022. So in 2022, they had 2,571 unique titles were challenged. So what that means is each one of these is a unique title. So the year before, it was like 748. And now it's way more, kind of a thing. Those challenges were, so 2,500 challenges. 1,200 were like the number of challengers. So 1,200 people said, these 2,500 items we want pulled. So there's already a discrepancy. So 90% of them wasn't one person challenging one book. It was one person challenging 10 books. So that's different. Let's see. What else is there? The difference between challenged and banned. So banned is just easier to say. Most books aren't banned. So books are challenged when somebody says, we would like this to be removed or moved to a different location, kind of a thing. Banned is the actual removal of the item. Okay, so most things aren't banned. Most libraries don't want to ban. We actually had kind of an interesting thing a couple of years ago because it was not a person. It was actually the publisher of the items were wanting them pulled. So a couple of years ago, so here we go. There was the Dr. Seuss publishing house had 6 titles that they were no longer going to be publishing. And this is one of them. And they asked libraries to pull their copies off the shelves. And it was because they were racist. They had depictions of people of color in a racist manner. And they do. If you look at this, yes, it does. Yes, it has some offensive images. It has offensive comments in it. Dr. Seuss was, anyway, doesn't matter. But we had a big discussion. Yes, it's offensive. There's books at the library that I'm offended by. I'm kind of icked out by some of them. I don't want to read them. I don't want my kid to read them. It's not teaching the values, like the Gossip Girl books for teens. Ugh. That's not teaching the right values, kind of a thing. But it's not for me to say. So that was the thing we decided is it's not for us to say. And you can't hide it and pretend it didn't happen, type of a thing. Then the author for this guy, Dav Pilkey, sort of a thing. It's Ook and Glook, kind of a thing. It's a graphic novel, and it's the same. The author and the publisher were like, please pull these books off the shelf. They depict Asians in a derogatory manner, kind of a thing. We want you to pull them. And we had a conversation. I mean, it's the author telling us, we want you to pull it. And we said, it's a slippery slope. You pull that, then you pull the next thing, then you pull the next thing, then you pull the next thing. Do we object to it? Quite possibly. But it's not for us to say. So we kept them on the shelf. And we had some pushback. There is, however, this new movement. They're very organized, and they're taking some different tacks. So I believe, Nancy, you asked me some questions about legislation, that you'd heard about. There's these new legislative efforts to ban books. And so I did some research. And there is nothing in California at this point in time that is looking to ban or censor books. So there's several states that are. So Idaho, in 2022, they proposed fining librarians $1,000 and sending them to jail for a year for checking out materials to a minor that are deemed harmful. It passed in the House, but died in the Senate. So it almost passed, kind of a thing. Iowa, they introduced a bill that would require public libraries to create a secondary adult section for sensitive in nature items. And they gave their city council authority to overturn the library's decision on challenged books. So if the library said, no, we're not going to remove that, the city council could say, yeah, you are, kind of a thing. North Dakota, they wanted to ban books with visual depictions of content, including portrayals of sexual and gender identity as sexually explicit. They proposed 30-day imprisonment and a $1,500 fine for librarians who refuse to remove the offensive material.
Does that mean all the librarians?
It would be whoever it was that refused. So if there was a librarian who said, I'm not removing that from my collection, then that person would be subject to fine.
Does that include biology books, medical books?
It could, yes, and that's the thing, is where do you stop it? When does it become okay for it to be sexually explicit versus not okay, right? Missouri had a couple of them, actually 3 of them. So poor Missouri, ugh. A bill passed to make it a criminal offense for library staff to provide books with graphic depictions of a sexual nature. And they proposed a rule which would block public funding for libraries offering materials that appeal to the prurient interest of any minor. Which, come on, kids have a prurient interest in everything. Oh. The House did strip their public library of funding. They removed $450 million of public library funding from their budget. But just yesterday, the House reinstated that. The Senate reinstated that. So they're trying. They're trying in different ways. Some of the things you'll see, I'll get to you, Maria, is you'll see, what we do see is if people object to something, they don't necessarily talk to me about it, which I will listen to anybody. Yes, please talk to me about it. But what they'll do is they'll hide it. So you find the corners in the library where they've dropped the evolution books behind the biography section. Or the political books are hidden in like the reference section, like a corner, and you're like, what is those doing there? Let's just get those out, kind of a thing. So they hide them from us. So that's one of the things they like to do. Yes, Maria, you had a question.
I'll just make a comment about that. Sometimes they will write comments in the books.
Yes, they do.
But has anybody been like fined or jailed or anything because of these laws in those states?
Not that I'm aware of. There have been a lot of, so she wanted to know if anybody had been actually fined or imprisoned for violating those laws in those states. And I'm not aware of that. I had not delved quite that deeply. On the other hand, there's a lot of threats being made to librarians and library staff. So a lot of them are quitting. They're resigning. They don't want to work at when you say, oh, the library, it's so nice to work at a library. You get to sit and read all day. Like, oh, not really. So they don't want to work in the library as much anymore. It's not the quiet, safe job that they used to have. So I am not aware of that. One thing, if you guys are interested in anything that has to do with the libraries, it's called Library Link of the Day, and it's a daily link for keeping up with the library profession. It might be something newsworthy, it might be like a blog about books or something like that, but lately it's a lot about censorship. Also, if you're interested in censorship and banned and challenged books, the ALA.org, which is the American Library Association, they have the Office of Freedom of Information, Office of Freedom of Information, or Freedom of Information Office, I think is what it is, on their website, where you can see more about it, and they have all the details, kind of a thing. Okay, first Katie, and then Rosemary.
So back in the early 1960s, back in Upper Michigan, in a beautiful library, we had locked cabinets.
Mm-hmm.
And when my girlfriend and I were 11, 12, 13s, we couldn't get the key, and it was medical books.
Mm.
Her father was a doctor. We snuck down in the basement and found all of these books of all the body parts and people with 3 breasts. Oh my God. Is there any, you don't have locked?
We do have locked, sorry, so you were asking about, so her question is, so it was Michigan? Back in Michigan in the 60s, there were locked cabinets with the medical books with the pictures. And she and her friend got into some trouble and found all those dirty pictures. So she was asking if we had locked cabinets at the library. We do, but not for the reason that you think. Our locked cabinets are our rare book collection. So we don't say who can check something out versus not. So a 10-year-old kid is welcome to go onto the adult side and check out a book on the adult side. It is up to the parent to monitor what their child is reading or watching. And that's kind of one of our arguments is, for the idea of behind censoring the books that are carried in a library, do they really not think that their child has access to that somewhere else? Do they not have a phone or friends? So that's one of my thoughts that I have about that.
Had doors locked, that we could take books and we could be alone.
That's true. You could be alone, yeah. We used to have, and that was, censorship also comes in the form of filters. So we do have filters on our computers. And isn't that a form of censorship, right? We had been against that for a long, long time. We recently put the filters onto our computers, mainly because the county got involved. And they took over our computers, and they're like, no, you have to have filters. We don't want viruses. The county is terrified of the public, by the way. So the county IT department is terrified of the public. Let me say it that way. So we've always, until a few years ago, the library was very separate in the eyes of our computers from the rest of the county because we had the public. And they used our computers. And they could be uploading all sorts of viruses. So they still are concerned, but they've instituted some filters, and there's firewalls and stuff I don't understand. And Todd, our IT guy, comes in and he talks to me, and I say, Todd, I need you to dumb that down for me. And then he talks to me again, and I go, little bit dumber, please. I understand the words individually. But so we didn't want to filter our computers before because the filters were so bad that if you were looking for breast cancer, it would filter it because the word breast was in there. You don't want to get a breast in there. I tested our filters. It is very difficult to get to the bad stuff. Apparently, if you put the word booby in there, you get pictures of like Betty Boop. So I don't know how to look up porn. So we recently came to the filter game, but filters are so much better than they used to be because they used to not let you get to the medical information that was necessary in those medical books that were locked up in your library. And that's another thing. Oh, yes. Sure.
I don't want to get you off your subject.
No, you're good.
Regarding sanitizing the great works
Right?
of yesteryear.
Right?
What comment, shall we go to the ALA.org and express our opinion? Is that a good thing?
Yes, that's a good place. ALA.org is a really good place. They'll have an advocacy area on their website. It also might reference the Freedom of Information Office, where people can comment on there. There's also, this is more school. What does that mean? Oh, sorry, repeat the question. Okay, got it. Okay, sorry. So she wanted to know if you wanted to express your opinions about censorship and the classics and censoring the classics, where should you go to do that? And I was telling her the ALA.org is a good place. There's also PEN, I think it's pen.org, P-E-N. Don't quote me on the .org though. They do, but they're more school books. But some of these are classics, right? And this is frequently banned or challenged of mice and men kind of thing. Frequently banned or challenged because of racial slurs and a negative effect on students. So they were sad after they read it. So we don't want them to have to read that. So, but I mean, and so that's the thing is censorship, they use bad words. They use words that we wouldn't want used in this day and age.
If you go to 5th grade, you'll hear the same word.
Right. So it's not, I understand where people are coming from. The N word is horrible. I don't want to hear that word, but you can't pretend it didn't happen. And that's how people thought. So To Kill a Mockingbird, same thing, racial slurs, negative effect on students. Isn't this considered like the greatest work in American literature? Oh, this one's one of my favorites. This is Captain Underpants by Dav Pilkey, who did the Ook and Glook book. This is frequently banned or challenged, not because he's wearing underwear, but because it encourages disruptive behavior in children. So kids already know how to disrupt it. Anyway, the Holy Bible. So frequently banned or challenged due to religious viewpoint. It's the Holy Bible. And it's due to the religious viewpoint. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you know how old the oldest book in your library is? When it was published?
Well, that's a very good question. I don't. Oh, she wants. Okay, sorry, Bill. Sorry, I'm falling down on the job. She wants to know if I knew when the oldest book that was published that we have in the library, in our library system. And that's kind of a trick question in that, like, the Odyssey, we carried the Odyssey, and that's, forever ago. That's like BC or, so that's one of the oldest pieces of work. Yes?
I think she means a physical book.
You're right, so you're talking about the physical book, right. I am not sure. We have some pretty old books. We have a vault at our library. It sounds really cool, right? We have a downstairs to our library as well. You can't see it because when you walk in, you're walking in the front. You know about our downstairs because you used to work in our downstairs. So there's a vault. I'm not going to tell you what's in it, but it sounds cooler than it is. But we have like a lot of rare books, so they're from the 1800s, kind of a thing. Yes?
My example, some of you saw my slideshow last month. The book about Frederick Sieg, the Druids, the original rare book about him is 1886, and there's some Oddfellow books from 1870 in your rare book collection.
See, and that doesn't surprise me. In our vault, we have some, I should know, we were just talking about them. They're the leather-bound somethings, and they're from the 1880s, and they're in the vault.
So from about the time this state
Yes.
became a state, you
Yes.
go back that far?
Yes, that's fair to say. Yeah. Yes, Katie.
Then I have several books that would qualify to my mom. And so would they stay in the vault? And is there any opportunity for
Viewing?
people to see, or are they just staying there? And then if you would, I think it'd be great to share about what you do in the beginning where people can bring in books. Like I brought in a whole bunch of music books.
Mm-hmm.
And piano music books, and I think they actually went into the library, but that is so valuable what you have out there. I'm a clutterer, and it's like, I didn't want to, okay, I'm going to bring these magazines here, and then people buy them.
Right. Okay. So 2 questions. So she had 2 questions, Bill, and her 2 questions were, the books that are in the vault, or the really rare books, the old books, are they only in the vault or are they accessible to others? And that question is, yes, they can be accessible to you. You can't check them out and take them home. But we usually will keep a hold of your ID, and then we let you look at that book while you're in the library. And then your second question was to talk about the process for, like, when we receive book donations and how to get them into our collection, kind of a thing. So our library in Placerville is also called the main library because we're the best. But we're trying to call us the Placerville Library now, but every now and then we call ourselves the main library. And then really, when the building first opened in 1978, the Placerville Library was also called headquarters. So every now and then I answer the phone, headquarters, kind of thing. Nobody understands, and I'm like, I have to explain it to everybody. But, so, we purchase books. We also take your donations. When you donate books to us, we go through them, and we pull out things that we think we would like to add to our collection. And there's a process. So the main library has the downstairs, and that includes our processing department. So everything runs out of the Placerville Library. So if you are up in Tahoe and you want to add a book, you send it to the Placerville Library. And we have a series of staff and volunteers who work together to catalog and add them to our system and tape them and label them and put the security on them and make sure that they're in the computer, so when you type in piano books, you can find it, kind of a thing. I'm not allowed to tape because I'm not very good at it. You have to be really precise and attention to detail. I'm terrible at straight lines, terrible. If you have the wrapping paper and it has the lines on the back, I can't cut along those lines. My arm just goes like this. So I'm not allowed. I have to wear the necklace that says, Krystal's having a bad tape day. We're terrible. So they come in and we sort them. And so the library staff look at them first, and we get to grab whatever we want. And then what we want to add, we give to, depends. And if they're already in our system, they go in one space downstairs, because we're just adding another copy. So we might be only able to afford to buy 6 copies of the newest James Patterson book, right? But there's 76 holds on it. So when you donate your newest James Patterson book, we grab it and we add it in, and so that way we can get through that list. So that would go into one space. The stuff that we don't have, so we've never carried it, goes into a different space, and it sits there for a really long time until somebody has time to go in, and we call it pulling a record. So they pull a record from, like, Library of Congress, and they say, hey, we have this item, and it has this ISBN number. So an ISBN number is that thing, all right? It's very specific to this book. And we pull it over, and it has the basic information in it. And then it goes through the steps that I don't really understand. There's this step, and then there's tape and some labeling. And then they get the Mylar covers, the little plastic covers that go on the books. It's everything that goes into making a book, a library book. And then if they need original cataloging, so they might need us to add in special terms that aren't brought over from Library of Congress. So this is an Dorado County author. That's special, kind of a thing. So anything we have dubbed, if you look, and I don't know if it's still in there, but one of the subject headings. So when you go and you type into our catalog, Kelly's favorite picture book, Kelly was cataloging that day, and she put in that was her favorite picture book, and so it's a subject heading. You can click on it and find out what all Kelly's favorite picture books are. So anything that's special is called original cataloging, and they do that. They have to do it by hand. We have certain people who catalog for us, and they put them in the subject headings into the computer so you can find them. And then they have to itemize them, because James Patterson, we buy 6 copies of his book. So we have to pull them all out and say, okay, this one's going to be this barcode number, and this one's going to be this barcode number, and this one's going to be this barcode number. So we do that. We call that itemizing. So it takes a little bit of time. If you guys place holds on a book that we haven't, so as soon as we have it, we throw it in the computer. Just a real basic thing. James Patterson's newest book, and there's nothing in there. If you put a hold on it, as soon as we get the book, it bumps it to the top of our list because somebody wants that book. So if you donated a book, a piano book, and you see it in the computer, but it's in processing or cataloging or something that doesn't say that it's on the shelf anywhere, put a hold on it. We get a list every day, and then we hunt them down every day and try to find them and bump those to the top of our list of things to catalog, because they're cataloging and processing tens of thousands of books every year. So we had tens of thousands of books. So, did I answer your question? Okay, so 2 questions, so you and then you.
Do a certain number of people have to request a book before you order it, if it's not that popular? Or do you also go to the New York Times bestseller list to look up books to order ahead of time?
So her question is, do we have to have a certain number of people who request a book before we'll buy it, or do we also use like the bestsellers lists and stuff like that to make purchases? We do both. So we have a team of book selectors. We have them at different branches and different backgrounds. And so, for example, Kelly, I've mentioned her. She orders fiction books for Georgetown, Placerville, no, I think it's Pollock, Placerville, and Tahoe. And then Jan over in El Dorado Hills, she might order the fiction books for El Dorado Hills, Cameron Park, and Georgetown. So that way you're getting a little bit different viewpoints, right? So a little bit different viewpoints for the stuff that they want to try out, okay? We have authors that, these are the popular authors. The bestsellers lists, these are the popular authors, the James Pattersons, the Danielle Steeles, the Nora Roberts, that we're always going to be ordering those because people want them. But I was just talking to Kelly on the phone last night. We were sitting on our decks, drinking our glasses of wine, chatting. And she was saying that our book budget is actually determined by our Friends of the Library, which is a great organization. It's a charitable organization that supports the library, and they do so mainly with book sales, but you can join them at the Friends of the Library, $10 a year. And your money, or if you buy books from the book sale, that's how much money we have to spend on books. So if it goes down, we don't get as much money. We have a little bit of money that we bring in from the county, but the main money is from the Friends of the Library, and it's from their book sales. So I was talking to Kelly, and she was saying we're down a little bit in our donations, so we're going to have less money for book ordering. So she's going to reserve X amount for the big name authors, but her budget for the unknown authors or first-time authors is going to go down a little bit. And she's going to have to be real careful about how she spends her money for those. So we also, we do a lot of those. They look at magazines. We have peer review magazines, Library Journal, Publishers Weekly, some other things I can't think of. And they look at the reviews there. They also look at the bestsellers lists. We have a hard time, so to be fair, because we want to be fair, nonfiction's hard, kind of a thing. You have, let's go with conservative, liberal, kind of a thing. We try to buy one of each, okay, to make sure we're being fair. Hold on just a second. We make every effort to buy one of each side, kind of a thing. We try not to buy diet books because they're fads. We will if enough people are requesting them. But some of those, there's so many, and we have so little funds. What we do have, if we can't afford to buy you those, is we have a new thing, not that new anymore, 2018 I think, called Link Plus. And you may have used Link Plus with us before. Link Plus is a collaborative effort with like 70 libraries in California and Nevada, including university libraries. And it's a courier service. And you can go online and look at their catalog, and you can put a hold on it, and they can send it over. And it takes a week, maybe 10 days for us to get it. You can check it out from us. It opens up our collection to like 11 million items. And if you check out their movies, they're free. So I'm cheap, so I get my movies from Link Plus. Hold on. Oh, slower, yeah.
I asked for a political book, and the gal said you're only the second person who's asked, so I wondered how many had the request.
So, and that's then the other part is we do look at those. So, and I saw your hand up in the back, sir. So she mentioned that she requested a political book, and somebody had said, oh, you're only the second person to have requested that book. So because we have limited funds, we make every attempt, okay? We have a a place where you can make a recommendation. It's called Recommend to Order. It's on our website. You can say recommend to order, and it goes out to our book selectors. And they do make an effort. Sometimes it's a matter of we've fallen into what I call our black hole of book ordering, because we're coming to the end of our fiscal year. So we have to spend all of the money. We had to spend all the money by the end of March so we can get all the stuff before the end of the fiscal year, kind of a thing. So they might be a matter of they don't have a lot of funds left, or they're looking to see how much they have at the end. It also can be, if it's not something that's on their radar, they might be looking to see if this is a one-off, that one person wants this, and I can't afford to buy this at this point in time, but let's see how many more people are requesting it, kind of a thing. So it's kind of a combination, okay? Sir?
So just an anecdote, many years ago, I was searching for an episode of Nova that had been filmed in the late 70s, and I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it on my own. I went to you guys, and one of your people, they found it in the library in Texas. They found the VCR tape episode that I subsequently got my hands on and could use it in this presentation that I was putting together. And I mean, it was just, I was flabbergasted that you actually could source something like that.
And we can.
Yeah.
And we can go outside of our own state. It's called interlibrary loan. Sometimes you have to pay us a little bit of shipping money, like $3. I forgot. He wanted to know, he got his hands on something from the 60s, it was a Nova show, and he couldn't find it anywhere, and he came to us and we got it on VHS from a library in Texas. And we do have interlibrary loan programs where we can try to get them from outside of our system. It's called interlibrary. You seem like you know what a VHS tape would be. Yes, sir, you had a question for me.
I want to make sure I understand the process on how you select items that go into the library. I mean, books, magazines, and newspapers.
Mm-hmm.
Suggestions will come from somewhere, and it all goes to a committee. The suggestion goes to a committee. They decide whether they're going to buy it or not. Am I correct?
Yeah, for the most part. Like our book selectors is not a committee so much, unless there's something that they're not sure about. They might take it to the other book selectors and say, what do you think? I know that you're concerned about a newspaper that you would like us to carry.
And books.
Okay, and books, okay.
Let me tell you why I'm asking. Before the last presidential election, my wife and I go to the library twice a week. And I noticed on the shelves a new book arrivals. I counted them. 17 books on Trump. I looked for a book on Biden or his wife. Nothing. Not one. So I got to talk to the head librarian at the time, and I asked her, she said, well, we tried to balance, on the one hand, on the other hand. She said, we've ordered a book on Biden. Yes, in fact, they showed up after the election. In other words, in its selection of books and magazines and newspapers, the library, and I mean you,
Right, I got you.
whoever does these things, there is a definite political bias exercised by the library in the stuff that goes into the library.
Which is funny.
As a taxpayer,
Right.
I object to that.
And it's funny because I get that exact same argument from the other side of the table. So I get, how come you have all of these liberal books and none of the conservative books on the shelf? And it's like, and my other thing about why I think that's funny is most of my book selectors have to make an active, this is probably not something I should share. Most of them are less conservative. Let's say that. They're not conservative. So most of the people who are doing book selecting are not conservative. So they're having to make an active effort to show both sides. One of our arguments is, we did have somebody who, we're going to take the other side, that she was very mad at me because we did not have conservative new books on the shelf for her. And I went to my book selector and I said, what do you think about that? And she said, part of the problem was there weren't any that weren't crazy. And so it was one of those. So she had to look for books that were going to be like legitimate books and not that they were well peer reviewed and that they were acceptable and they weren't seen to be madness. So I don't know how to say that. And she was of the conservative mindset. That person was of the conservative mindset and was very upset by the fact that we didn't have enough conservative books out there.
May I actually have a question?
Sorry, yes. Oh, Mary, did you have a question?
I have 3 questions.
Okay. We can have a conversation about this next time you're at the library. All right. Yes, Mary. We can have it later. Let's just, or who else had a question? Rosemary.
How do you decide which books will be print and which ones will be audio and ebook?
So your question is, how do we decide which books will be in print and which will be audio or ebook? Sometimes it's a matter of what is available to us. Okay, so we have lesser pot of money for our digital collection, so our ebooks and e-audiobooks, and not as many options for things to buy, and those are actually getting very, very, very expensive. So we have less titles that we can choose from. On the other hand, our ebooks, if you've done any of our downloading, we are a part of a larger system called NorthNet, and it's like 26 libraries. We're all the poor libraries in California. And we joined forces because we can't afford to do this on our own. And so we're all selecting books and we're all bringing in money for an ebook budget. But some things are not available in ebook or not available in audiobook. So those are some of our things that we have to contend with. The other thing about ebooks and audiobooks, e-audiobooks, is that unlike a physical book, the publishers really get to stick to what they want. So what I mean by that is, let's say we buy 5 copies of a book in a physical book. We can check out those 5 copies to thousands and thousands of people. They fall apart. I have menders who come in and they put them back together, and we'll check them out to thousands and thousands more, as many as we possibly can. The digital ones, I check out those 5 books. Each one can be checked out 20 times, and then it goes away. So and then once they're gone, I have to buy more copies. So they have a lot more control. So that's kind of some of our limits there. And our funding, we don't have as much funding for those. The other ones, the print ones, there is a definite, since COVID, we've had an increase in use in our digital books. Absolutely, great. I have statistics here, which are cool statistics if I could find them. So for 2022, we checked out all of our branches, checked out 131,664 ebooks in the course of a year. Physical books, we checked out 626,664. So there's still more of a incline for the physical books than the digital books. And we can get more bang for our buck for those as well. Yes, sir.
I have a board question, not about money or politics.
Okay.
Do you still have the big cute dogs that the kids lean against and read, and why is that a successful reading technique?
So his question was about if we still had the big cute dogs at the library, live dogs that kids could come and sit against and read to. And why was that such a success? We don't currently have that at the Placerville Library because those dogs retired. They went to live on the farm. And we haven't had, and the person who led that, she couldn't bear to get new dogs. We've had some interest in that. I'll be with you in just a second, Vicki. Bringing that back. And we probably would, if we have the right people come to us with a plan, we probably would institute that again. And why is that? But we do have it at other branches. So Cameron Park, I think, still has it. Pollock Pines has it. You can read to the dogs. And why is that successful? Dogs don't judge. So this is right? This is something that kids can read out loud to dogs, and they can practice their reading skills. It doesn't matter to the dog if the kid stutters or gets the word wrong or doesn't say a line or doesn't say the word right. The dog is just there, and the dogs are very calming, right? They bring them to the hospital for healing. So they're very calming for a child. So that's why they're so successful. Yes, Vicki, you had a question for me.
I just checked out an audiobook, and it said something about PDF and pictures. And I can't figure out how to see the pictures that are in the book, because it's
It's an audio. Is it an audio? Oh, so she wanted to know, she has checked out an audiobook, and it mentions that it has a PDF with pictures. So, but because it's an audiobook, she can't click on anything and open anything. Is it an audiobook on disc or a downloadable audiobook?
On disc.
On disc? Okay. You might not have access to those pictures. So, on the other hand, there may be a way for us to access that, like it might be accessible through our catalog. There might be a link to those on our catalog. What I would recommend is next time you're in, bring the audiobook with you, talk to the staff at the front desk, let's see if we can figure it out.
I also put a hold on the actual book itself. So
Right.
I can see the pictures.
Right. Right. Anybody else have any questions?
You
Yes.
said after 20 readings of an audiobook, it goes away. What do you mean by that?
So digital is the digital stuff, okay? So it's downloadable. So it means we pay for license agreements on the digital stuff, right? So if we pay for 5 license agreements, the license agreement goes away, and now we only have 4 license agreements for people to choose from. He wanted to know about licenses going away and publishers going away after 20 readings. Yes, Katie?
So I'm very appreciative and grateful for all the things that I'm even learning about. Is there a way to call and say, would there be anyone today or tomorrow at a certain time? And this is what I would like a little help with. Rather, because to
Yes.
be courteous and to know that there is.
Yes, so her question is there a way to call and ask if there's somebody who can help in the next day or two with whatever your issue is? And yes, you absolutely can call the library, any of our branches, but please call the Placerville Library, probably your closest branch, and let them know what you're having problems with. Depending on their schedule, sometimes we might not, hey, we've got like 7 people out this week, and we might not be able to help you. Sometimes we can help you on a drop-in basis. It just kind of depends. Drop-ins are scary because sometimes I'm outstaffed, sometimes I'm not. And so we have plenty of people, yes, I can bounce free in like just a couple of minutes and sit down with you. I encourage you to bring your devices with you if you're gonna do that. That helps. But yeah, give us a call. Yes?
So on the e-books, you have a limit on the number of times you can use the books based on the licenses.
Yes.
Is it the same with audio?
The e-audio, yes it is.
So the audio and the e-books?
Yes. Yeah. I think it's 20. Don't quote me on that. We also have the ability, there's something, I'm not as great because I don't do the purchasing, but there's something called simultaneous use agreements. And that means that multiple people can use them, because that's the other thing is if we have 5 agreements, 5 licenses, then only 5 people can have it out at a time, which is why if you're downloading, you have to get on a wait list. But we have simultaneous use agreements that allow for 100 people to use them all at the same time. But that's even there, we might have more uses, but it's limited, and once those go away, it goes away. And then we have to buy another one. And apparently those are really expensive. But there are books that are available all of the time. They don't have those limits set by publishers. I can't think of what they're called right this minute, but they predate copyright. So beyond, I think, 1930, before 1930. So those items, you can download as many as you'd like, as often as you'd like, and they don't go away. Does anybody else have any questions?
I have one.
Yes.
I went into the library, I think it was a Tuesday, and there were people going in, and but the library part was closed. And much to my amazement, they were having grandparents, and I didn't know if you were going to talk about it.
We haven't talked about programming. So she's asking about programming. She came on a Tuesday before we opened, and there were grandparents going in for a program. We have all sorts of programs. We have programs that happen before we open, and we have them during the day. All different ages. We really excel at the 0 to 5-year-olds because of that first 5 support and our hubs. We have, we call it a grandparents group. It's currently on hiatus until we bring it back again. We do a series of them. We might also call it something else, but internally we call it a grandparents group. It's a family, friends, and neighbors group. So it's because grandparents are their primary caregivers a lot of times these days for kids. Their parents are both working, they got a lot going on, so grandparents are the people with their grandkids. You might have a neighbor taking care of them, you got nannies, so it's not their parents. So these are geared toward their play groups for kids 0 to 5, and they're grown up, whether it's their parent or not. Usually it's the neighbors or family, and they can come, and we have that series. We had like a planned how you can cook with little ones, and they can help and what they're learning. So about comparison, you have dried spaghetti. This one's smaller than this one. You have the kids compare. You have them sort things by color. They have kid-friendly cutting knives that aren't going to cut the kid, and they can cut things and they can measure things. So we have those days, or we have fine motor skills, or texture, like with all sorts of themes. And then also the grandparents or the neighbors have a support group for each other. Oh, I hate it when my grandkid does this. Oh, I know. My son never does that. My daughter-in-law doesn't do this. So it gives you an outlet. We also have 2s and 3s on the go, which is also before we open, and it's for 2s and 3s. Oh, let me start over. Let's start with the 0 to 2-year-olds. We have Mother Goose on the Loose, which is a lap sit story time at all of our branches, pretty much, which is geared toward kids age 0. You can bring your newborn baby in to 2 years old. And it's a lot of interaction, swaying with the baby, up and down, making faces. And then when they graduate to the 2s and 3s, we have our 2s and 3s, much more movement, not a lot of stories, some stories, short. And then you have our story time for 3 to 5-year-olds. Stories, get the wiggles out, movement. There's usually a parenting lesson in there. Then there's an activity. We have our family, friends, and neighbors group, which is for a support group. We have Jesus, my EDCO partner, with our community hub on Friday mornings, every Friday morning, from like 9 to noon. They extended it because people love it so much. He has a 0 to 5-year-old play group with their caregivers. So you can come in and he has a lesson about sharing or schedules or, I can't think of all of his lessons, anger. So, excuse me. And it's kind of a support group as well, where they teach a little lesson, they play, they interact, and then the adults get to interact with each other.
Are those all on a certain day?
Yes. Tuesday? Yes, and I did not bring my calendar of events, which I printed out. We have a calendar of events. They're all on certain days of the week. The only day we don't have something is Tuesdays. But we also have Lego block party for all ages on Thursday afternoons. That's another good one. Kids love Legos, and that's engineering and manipulatives. So we have all sorts of fun stuff. Go on our website. We also have printed calendars at the library that I was supposed to bring. Vicki, you had a question for me.
Anything in another language, bilingual stuff?
We do. So a lot of them we have to get from, Tahoe has a lot more bilingual books than we have in Placerville. We have a growing collection. She's asking about bilingual books. We have we have a lot in the kids section, mostly in Spanish. We have a small collection in my adult section, not a lot, but Tahoe has a lot, and we can put them on hold for you. Excuse me. Anybody have any other questions? Yes?
I remember, was it 10 years ago, we had something on the ballot that would charge $3 a year on your property taxes, and it was voted down?
Yeah.
Shocked.
So, yeah. And that's one of the things they're doing nowadays is they vote no on libraries that aren't taking books out of their collection. That's one of the things they're doing now, and censorship. We did. So every library except for Placerville and Pollock Pines has a separate source of funding. Oh, sorry. She mentioned that several years ago there was a ballot measure to help fund the library, and it was defeated. And yes, that's true. So Georgetown, Cameron Park, Tahoe, El Dorado Hills, they have zones around those libraries. And they have either a parcel tax. Cameron Park has a weird one. I can't think of what it is. It's not a parcel tax. It's something else. But they have a tax that helps to support that library. The Placerville Library went out in 2005 for a renewal, and it lost by 14 votes. And so we went out again the next year and lost by more votes. And we've gone out a couple of times over the years and have not managed to make that pass. So currently, the Placerville and Pollock Pines libraries are solely funded by general fund money. And part of the idea behind that is that those other libraries have a zone. This, and that's who they go out to. Everywhere else in El Dorado County is in our zone. So we have to get people in South County who don't have a library to vote for us. People, you know, in between Tahoe and Pollock Pines, we have to get them to vote for us. So it's harder for us to get people to vote who don't come to the library. But we do have a bookmobile. We have a new bookmobile back, and we had a bookmobile before, and it fell apart. And so we got a new one. And now we got a wrap put on it so it looks pretty, because before it looked like a creepy child abduction van. And we would take it out to the park, and we're like, kids, we have free stuff. And then the police were called. So we have a bookmobile, and we are going back out into South County and in some of those out-of-the-way places and establishing that presence again. I think, unless you guys have more questions.
About the banned books, is there one by Mark Twain by any chance?
I did not pull a Mark Twain. He is frequently banned or challenged, Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer. Yeah, I brought a bunch, and then on the backs I said what they were for. A lot of them are LGBTQ content. This guy, and somebody mentioned people marking in the books. Maria, I think you mentioned this is The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian. It uses a derogatory term, Indian, kind of a thing. But also profanity and sex are involved in it. And so I have had people who've blacked out all the words they didn't like in the books before, and you're like, great. The Hate You Give, this is super popular, right? Super popular. It's anti-police message. It's the hate you give. It sends out an anti-police message. Kind of a thing. Charlotte's Web is on there because it deals with death. Yeah. And talking animals, yeah. The Bluest Eye is because it depicts child sexual abuse. And this is one of those books that I find creepy, icky. The concept is icky. It's The Handmaid's Tale, so I wouldn't want to read it. But it's profanity, vulgarity, and sexual overtones. Everything. You also have, I encourage you to read the books. If somebody's challenging a book, read the book. Harry Potter. Everybody loves Harry Potter, right? Witchcraft. This is witchcraft. So, frequently banned or challenged. And then this one, 13 Reasons Why, is because it addresses teen suicide. So we don't want to do that, all right? Who wants to address teen suicide? Let's not talk about that. Come to the library. If you want to support the library, use it. Tell your friends. Join the friends. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.